Santos Bonaci. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Santos, you teach people different subjects. Some is connected to a word understanding. Could you please explain some of the ideas of where this word association, this language that you're using, came from?
Well, I probably started a good solid 30 years ago, back in 1982, right? And back then I was coming from the world, going into the Jehovah's Witnesses. and this looking for truth in words started back then with a book. This book here by Alexander Hislop called The Two Babylons.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is a solid reading. Now he wrote this in 1916, but what he's trying to do is trying to convince the world that the old Babylon and Rome are the two Babylons. So he's going in from that angle, and he's trying to prove that the Egyptian Seth is the same as, for instance, the Hebrew Shem, etc., and things like that in a literal way, you see. So I started with books like that, realizing that these Egyptian, Chaldean, Babylonian, Sumerian, Greek words were carrying big thoughts in them, you know. They were containers. Letters were numbers, letters, and the alphabeta were considered instruments that contained thought forms and archetypal energies and aspects of nature, etc. Right? So I'm very happy that I really thoroughly studied this. Although I was in the fictional church-going process, right up until 2005 was the last time I went to a Jehovah's Witness meeting. So I'm only sort of a newbie, a newcomer to the consciousness awakened. But I mean, it wasn't as though I was unconscious as a Jehovah's Witness. There was a lot of things that I was doing back then that, well, for instance, wanting to find truth in words. Now, what that's done is it's given me a love for the truth in words. And you see this common origin of words now. For instance, I've brought out in some of my presentations the word Abraham. How similar it is to Brahma.
Absolutely. That's, one might say that when we look at the Sephir Yetzirah, there are two verses in a row, verse 15 and 16. One is talking about an earthbound human, and one is talking about the codex of creation of the universe.
That's it. Well, that's what Genesis means, isn't it? The generation or the genesis of Isis. And it's hiding in plain sight. And so then you see that Brahma has a wife called Saraswati, and Abraham has Sarah. And then you look at the words and you see a lot of Ra, Sara. And the Hindus tell you that the top chakra is Sahasrara. Sahasrara. Yeah, but it ends with Ra. Mm-hmm. Two Ra's.
Sahasra chakra.
Yeah, right? You know your Hindu stuff. So they tell you that, and it's the top chakra. Well, what happens when you look at the top of everything in all the fields of knowledge and branches of knowledge that we know? Well, we know that Aries is up here, that's the Ram, Ra. And it represents the cerebrum, and below that is the cerebellum. These two brains, you see, cerebrum is Sarah Abram. So you see Ra and Ra are there. Then Abraham and Sarah had a child. One was Isaac, that's Isis, and Rebecca. Again you see Ra, Rebecca. And then Isaac and Rebecca had Jacob, and he gets his name changed to Israel, and he marries Rael, or Rachel. So there's 6 patriarchs of the Hebrews, and in 5 of those names you find Ra, and in 1 of them you find Isis. Everything in the universe, it turns out,
Is Moses the one you find Isis? Just by the way.
Yeah, you'll find everything in Moses. What you'll find in Moses...
I didn't mean to distract you from that.
No,
So.
no, can I get a whiteboard?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now what was the question again? It was about Moses and Isis or something?
Just before that, we talked about Brahma
Yeah.
and Sarah. Brahma, Saraswati, Abraham and Sarah.
Yeah,
And
okay.
you were saying the 5 patriarchs, so the 6 patriarchs, you can find Ra.
Yeah,
5 of the 6.
yeah. So the word Ra turns up everywhere in all of our fields of knowledge. Science, radio, radius, radiate, vibrate, brain. And it turns up in our theology. Now, so what I'm doing in all my presentations is syncretism. I'm showing that there is one theology. Brahma is Abraham. Saraswati is Sarah. And you can prove this, and this is how you do it. It's quite easy.
Well, technically speaking, in Sanskrit, it's what's called Sanatan Dharma, which means the human being has an eternal occupation, and that is to understand God and His creation. So that sounds like syncretism.
Yeah. How do you say that word again?
Sanatan, eternal, Dharma, occupation.
Yeah, beautiful. So, and this is how easy it is to prove. It's really easy, man. I mean, the most common religious symbol is the cross, right? That if we get this wheel, which is known as the zodiac, and we do this as I've shown in my presentations.
Yes.
What I do in my presentations is I have the Tropic of Cancer there,
Yes.
and here is the Tropic of Capricorn,
Yes.
and this is the equator going through here. And you see what happens is the sun curves up to go to the Tropic of Cancer, and then it falls and it goes down to the equator on September 21st. This is March the 21st, and this is June 21st, and this is December 21st. And so you've got your solstice axis and your equatorial axis.
Yes.
And these are the cardinal points, you see. And the cardinal points